Tonight, our coverage as pro-Palestinian advocacy groups are demanding that Ontario Education Ministry reverse its funding allocated to pro-Zionist groups for anti-Semitism training in public schools. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm Elia Batul. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is praising his meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as very productive. This comes as Trudeau visited Trump in Florida for a dinner meeting this past Friday. The leaders addressed critical issues including U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods, border security, and the ongoing fentanyl crisis. Trump says the talks revolved around a massive trade deficit and strategies to combat drug-related challenges, particularly fentanyl influxes blamed on Chinese cartels. NATO and G7 were also discussed. Officials described the meeting as positive. No definitive agreements have been reached. The meeting follows Trump's recent tariff threat, which would impose a 25% duty on imports from Canada and Mexico. The tariff aims to prompt changes at Canadian borders to curb illegal activities. The threat has made Trudeau, along with the country's premiers, scrambling for solutions. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police says it is considered deploying 1/4 of its eastern workforce to operational priority areas, including the border. Several premiers are calling for the government to enhance its police spending and commit more to tackling fentanyl. Five major Canadian media companies have sued popular artificial intelligence service provider OpenAI. The lawsuit has been filed by Toronto Star, Postmedia, the Globe and Mail, the Canadian Press, and Canadian Broadcast Corporation. The companies are accusing OpenAI of unlawfully using vast amounts of their content without permission or compensation. The plaintiffs are demanding damages and a permanent injunction to prevent any further unauthorized use of their content. OpenAI, however, maintains that its practices are rooted in fair use. It says it offers collaboration and opt-out options to publishers. The lawsuit has been filed in Ontario's Superior Court of Justice. It comes amidst increasing legal scrutiny on AI companies over copyright issues. Earlier, billionaire Elon Musk expanded a lawsuit against OpenAI to include Microsoft. Musk alleged the two companies are illegally seeking to monopolize the market for generative AI and sidelined competitors. Israel has intensified attacks across Gaza. In the past 24 hours, strikes have killed 37 civilians. 108 have been wounded. At least 15 people have been killed in a strike on a building in Beit Lahia. The attacks are worsening the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The onset of winter has further deteriorated living situations. The ongoing military actions mark 60 days of continuous bombardment on northern Gaza. The United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees says it is halting shipments through the Karam Abu Salam crossing between Israel and Gaza after a series of attacks on aid convoys. Israel's war on Gaza has killed at least 44,466 Palestinians. More than 100,000 have been injured. The International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant late November for war crimes and crimes against humanity. Israel also faces a genocide case at the International Court of Justice over its brutal war on Gaza. Reports show Israel has breached a ceasefire in Lebanon today, escalating tensions in the region. Lebanon's parliament speaker has also accused Israel of violation. Officials say one person has been killed and another wounded by the Israeli strikes. Pro-Palestinian advocacy groups are calling on the Ontario Ministry of Education to reverse its allocation of $550,000 to pro-Zionist organizations. The funding is designated for antisemitism training in public schools. It will be delivered by groups like the Center of Israel and Jewish Affairs and the United Jewish Association. Critics argue that while addressing antisemitism is vital, These groups act as mouthpieces for the Israeli government and have no place in public education. They say the funding should be directed towards promoting the rights of all students without perpetuating harm. At a press conference in Toronto on Thursday, Zaid Zowaida, an organizer with Toronto Palestinian families, expressed concern over the allocation. Zowaida says the funding is meant to address gaps in school resources. Instead, it is being given to organizations connected to Israeli apartheid. Zowaida emphasizes the importance of combating antisemitism and supporting the Jewish community, but stresses the need for neutral and inclusive approaches. He says, "We must condemn all forms of hate. However, training cannot be delivered by organizations that create intimidating environments or conflate support for Palestinian rights with hate." He says no funding has been allocated to anti-Zionist Jewish groups, leaving certain voices marginalized. Other speakers include Rabbi David Mivasser from Independent Jewish Voices, Hamilton trustee Sabrina Dahab, and members of Toronto Jewish families. Impacted students and parents also shared concerns. Many educators did not feel safe to speak out. The groups are urging the government to reverse its decision. They say the government should ensure future allocations prioritize inclusivity and the safety of all communities. This debate comes amid discussions about introducing anti-Palestinian training in Toronto public schools to address rising Islamophobia. However, no funding has been allocated by the Ontario Ministry of Education for this initiative. Toronto witnessed two major protests unfolding on Friday and Saturday to show solidarity for the Palestinian cause. On Friday, Yonge and Dundas Square became the focal point for International Solidarity Day with the Palestinian people. Participants marched through downtown Toronto, waving banners and chanting slogans to voice their frustration and demand justice. The following day, thousands more assembled. They echoed the cries against the war in the Middle East and criticized Canada's stance on the conflict. Farah Matar of Toronto for Palestine has expressed profound distress over the losses in Gaza. Matar condemns genocide and mass slaughter of innocent civilians. Demonstrators are urging the Canadian government to cut international ties with Israel. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is warning BRICS countries of imposing a 100% tariff on any member nation that abandons the U.S. dollar in international trade. The BRICS economic bloc comprises of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Its new members include Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, and the United Arab Emirates. In a social media post, Trump insisted these nations maintain the dollar as their reserve currency. Trump threatens that failure to do so will lead to severe economic repercussions. The move follows increased discussions among BRICS nations about shifting away from the dollar, particularly after U.S. sanctions on Russia intensified in 2022. Opposition forces in Syria have captured key areas in Idlib and Aleppo provinces, taking control after intense clashes. The opposition is led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. The Syrian military has announced a temporary withdrawal from Aleppo. Aleppo is Syria's second largest city. It has been under regime control since 2016 with support from Russia and Iran. The Syrian regime's recent airstrikes in Idlib city resulted in 16 civilian deaths, including women and children. 59 have been injured. The opposition's swift advance marks a significant shift in the ongoing 13-year conflict. Food bank Feed Scarborough in Ontario is revolutionizing the fight against food insecurity by following United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Suman Roy, the executive director, reports significant improvements since integrating these goals into operations. A recent survey shows a decrease in clients of the food bank. The percentage of clients at risk of going to bed hungry has reduced from 91% to 46%. This has been made possible by initiatives beyond food distributions. These include Canada's first online food bank, culinary training, and a healthy meal program. The organization has launched Food Hall TO, a culinary incubator that helps newcomers start food businesses. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News Canada. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum.